Hi buddies, in this video we will cover Intro to Git, Architecture of Version Control Systems and Common Terms. Let's get started. In Intro to Git we'll cover what is version control and Git as well as GitHub. What is version control software? Okay, it's a software for tracking and managing changes in digital assets over time. What is digital assets? It's anything that can be saved as in your computer, no, as files and folders. Okay, what do you mean by tracking and managing? So let me give you a day-to-day example. So we have a very important document, our resumes. So it goes into many changes over time, and sometimes you customize it for a particular company GD. Our favorite is latest and latest. So this is just one file. A project will have close to hundreds of files, and we will have around 10x people working on them. How would we track who has done a change? When? What was the change? Was it approved by someone? Oh, that is a bug. We need to fix it. How do we undo it? So, how do we do that? Quickly. This is done by version control software. It helps you to track and manage those changes. Okay. Now then, what is Git? Git is a version control system which is free and open source. Okay, it's a free and open source version control system primarily used by developers to maintain the code. Where does it sit? It sits in your computer. We'll be installing a software called Git, and it will operate from your system. What is GitHub then? GitHub is a service or a website where you store your code online. Example, like your Gmail stores your emails, right? Your Google Drive stores your files. Similarly, GitHub is a service, okay, wherein it saves the Git repository. Basically, it's a hosting service. It's being a host. So it's a web-based Git repository hosting service which offers what? Revision control and source code management. Basically this. Okay. And there's a big confusion between Git and GitHub. So always remember GitHub. Hub means a final place wherein everything meets, right? So that's why this will be on the cloud, wherein finally you will push things here. Next we'll go into the differences. I will not go to this in detail, just to point out some main parts. Like I already said, this is a software and this is a service. This one is on your system, this one is on your web. This is by Linux and it is by Microsoft. And some of its competitors of Git are CVS, Azure DevOps, Subversion, Mercurial, and for Git it's GitLab, Bitbucket, AWS. Okay, that's about the intro to Git. Let's move on to the architecture of the version control system. Now the version control systems have four different areas generally. One is the working directory, then is a staging area, and then we have a local repository and the remote repository. Now let's take an everyday example. Say you have an export factory, a factory wherein you export certain products, you produce that products, okay, in your production house, and then you move it into a godown. Okay, and every time you have produced, you will move to the godown, and when you are ready for a particular shipment, you move it to the area where you can ship. At this point everything gets registered. Okay, whatever you do gets registered once it's in this area. Once it's ready, and you can push the entire thing, I mean you actually send that export that particular product. Now what it is in the terms of code. So working dictionary is a folder in your computer wherein you will be working. Whenever you work on the code, it will all be in the working directory. Once you are done with that, you pack it and send it to the staging area, and you work on the next part of it and you keep sending. So once you are done a good bit, complete bit, you move it into the local repo. the .git is a folder that is in the local repo that tracks everything. Okay, and once that is done, you send it into the GitHub, your hosting service. Okay, in the terms we use here, it is called you add the code, you commit the code, and you push the code. Okay, and this is called pull or fetch, and we will speak about this in detail later. But understand that these are 4 stages, and the first 3 stages are inside your computer, handled by Git. Okay, next is how does this look in your workspace. Okay, in your workspace you will have a Git for your project, and you will have a folder for your project, and in that folder you are 3 developers working on it, and each developer will have their respective working directory, staging area, and local repo. Okay, and once each one is done, and once their respective codes are there, and in each of you are ready, so they keep sending the updated code into the Git repository. Similarly, they also pull the code. We will speak about that in detail later. That's about the architecture of the version control systems. Next, let's come down to the common terms that are used. Let me zoom this up. So one is the directory or the folder. It's the words are used interchangeably used. Next is this working directory. It's also called working copy or the workspace. Okay, those are same words. Next is a terminal. So in case you want to move inside a folder, come outside a folder, open the file, see the list of files. Basically working with the files and folders, you can do it using the command line. Yes, you can do this in the UI by just double clicking it, but if you have to do it from the command line, that is when you are using terminal or command line. We'll be working on this and having some practice around this in the later sessions. Next is a code editor. So how do you write the code? No, it's done on the code editor. It's a software that you install in your system, and whenever you point it to your working directory, and whenever you work on it, the code will be saved in the working directory. So next is what is repository. So like I said, remote repo will have multiple folders, each for your project, and that folder is called repository. Okay, it's a folder in GitHub where you place all the files of your project. Okay, that is all I had for this video. See you at our next study buddy video. Please leave any constructive feedback and suggestion in the comments. Thank you.